We will have the pleasure and privilege of inviting Dr. Gigi to the dais. Dr. Gigi, please. Dr. Gigi is a very versatile person. Probably many of the people sitting here may not know there is a course in Ayurveda which is 7.5 years. And he has completed the course in Ayurveda, 7.5 years special course in India. We'll give a big hand to that. And you know what is the degree called? The degree is not called BA, MS or something like that. It is called Ayurveda Acharya. We'll give a big hand to Ayurveda Acharya sitting here. Number two, along with the medical degree, he has got degree in healthcare administration, and that too from McGill University, Canada, obtaining his PhD. One more hand, please. I am really afraid to read the whole resume presented in front of me. I will skip many and I will highlight few what appear to me as very important. Number one, he is the founder secretary of and executive director of Lok Swasthya Parambara Samvardhan Samidhi. It is a network how to treat patients all over the world with a local network. Wonderful entity that has really raised the eyebrow of a lot of people all over the world. Why not we create such a society in the neighborhood? And he is there wherever there are an academic community. He is there wherever there are Ayurvedic practitioners. And I should say only one word before I invite him to the dais, an iconic person in the world of Ayurveda. Sir, you are welcome, and please share with us how to take this Ayurveda to the next level and to the world. Thank you very much.
Friends, I am extremely thankful to the organizers for giving me an opportunity to interact with you. It seems I am an odd man out. I come from a stream of healing tradition which has got more than 5,000 years of unbroken history. Many things we take it for granted. We don't value the asset this great nation has. And I have seen many a time, and I used to quote that sun rises in the east, but we look to the west for light. East has been the leader in many innovations in the history. Except for the last few centuries, India, like many Asian countries, has been the leader on many sciences including health and healing. And fortunately or unfortunately, Ayurveda happened to be the only living science of this great tradition, still contributing to the contemporary needs of different disease entities that is emerging as new diseases, and also looking to the preventive and promotive features which are very important in 21st century. If you look into the history of evolution of diseases, 18th, 19th and 20th century has been dominated by kind of infectious diseases which have been treated successfully by a bullet approach of antibiotics. If there is an organism, there is a cure. And it was very greatly appreciated, and it has really helped the whole globe to get rid of many of the very, very obnoxious diseases. It has saved the humanity, I should say. While recognizing this kind of contribution from the very recent nascent science of biomedicine, the reductionistic science of healthcare, today and tomorrow we are facing a different kind of disease which has got no organisms as a cause. The multi-causal diseases, the degenerative diseases, the diseases of chronic metabolic disorders, The diseases due to lifestyle distortions, diseases due to rampant pollution within and without. These are being faced, and the whole world has been looking to different kind of approach strategy for meeting the challenges being given to us in the changing times. I think it is here that Ayurveda comes as a promise. Can you help me? I believe Ayurveda came to limelight recently not because of people like me who has been contributing. Ayurveda came to limelight unfortunately because of the shortcomings that modern medicine is facing today in the chronic conditions of diseases. And we can see in this condition the people have changed. People have been looking for multiple kind of healing opportunities. They are no more looking at allopathy as the panacea for everything. They are looking for different methods. And if you see the medical pluralism that is dominating the whole globe has come out of the need of the recipient, the public, the people who have been suffering, not because of the medical fraternity. The change has started from the bottom level, and we have been trying to contribute, taking the essence of Ayurveda in this area. Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, Korean medicine, all these medicines has got an entirely different approach to treatment and healing, which is highly personalized. Unlike the other systems, it treats the individual rather than disease. That is the beauty of science like Ayurveda. There are many definitions. Which one I have to? Oh, sorry. There are many definitions of traditional medicine, but none of the definitions actually comprehend Ayurveda. You can see one of the definitions which has been developed and coined by none other than World Health Organization. Even that does not comprehend the availability of resources in terms of disease management, prevention and promotion, and also rejuvenation, which is a very unique feature of Ayurveda. I am just giving you some kind of a ethnocentric, a Western ethnocentric worldview, which has been perpetuating the whole scientific arena, which makes us to be ignorant or do not understand other sciences of other cultural milieu. Only Western medicine has been regarded as science, and the knowledge system from other areas has been not considered as a science because one is not able to understand the intricacies of that science, the paradigm of that science, in the foundational principles of that science. And you can see there is a very big change that is happening since 1990. I think 1990 was the time when people started looking very seriously into alternative systems. And you can see in 1990s, US population went to alternative practitioners of different kind, not necessarily Ayurveda, whatever is available, out of mere frustration and mere non-availability of any cure for many of their conditions. Many of the psychosomatic conditions could not be even treated. Even treated, it became worsened, and they went to different systems to the extent of spending more money from their pocket than they used to spend through their insurance coverage. You can see these different systems. And this increasing demand and popularity has recognized by none other than the Director General of World Health Organization And 2013, you can see the hope and expectations that has come from the apex body of global health institution. And WHO's traditional medicine strategy from 2014 to 2013, 2014 to 2023 has been giving more and more opportunities to member country, asking member country to develop policies, plans, programs, connecting traditional knowledge system with their conventional healthcare delivery system, connecting at horizontal level, vertical level, connecting at primary healthcare level, and also looking into the possibilities so that a kind of system which is affordable and acceptable for the community can be developed. So there is no more single system cure in the minds of people who are working in the frontiers of medical research and medical management. That is the point I want to bring to your notice. And if you look at US, because whenever we think about any development, we look at US as the leader. A small committee, a small team of people, a small starting point of Office of Alternative Medicine with $2 million started in 90. In 2017, you can see the evolution that happened in the most progressive minds of the world, how they are spending more and more, to the extent in 2017, their budget has gone to $130 million. What I am telling you that there is a big change that is happening. Whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or not, people need systems other than a single system, which is good, extremely good in certain areas, but extremely inefficient many other areas, which are becoming the dominant conditions of 21st century. So I give you this example of US contribution to CAM, the NCCN and the latest formulation, and it has become the part of National Institute of Health, and it is a very important research body of NIH. But unfortunately, if you look at the member countries in different parts of the world, there are no much done in terms of regulations. We are not put enough resources or programs or budgetary allocation or even a plan to see that regulatory issues globally are looked into. So you can see, I am not going into the details, I am just giving you, out of 120 countries, how many of them have got any kind of regulations. There are very few countries have got some of the good regulations. Most of the country doesn't have any regulation, and people are using it in a hazardous way. And the directions in this background for growth of Ayurveda are many. If you look into the area of clinical practice, wellness and illness, and you know that now today one of the biggest area is wellness and well-being. And they say by 2050 the well-being is going to be one of the biggest health industry. And Ayurveda has got tremendous areas, capacities to address this in a very, very, very exceptional way, very, 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 very productive way. And this is one area we should look into if you want to take Ayurveda out of this to other countries. And I want you to know the same breath that today, even after having a Ministry of Ayush under the new government, the expenditure that is budgeted for this system of Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, Naturopathy, Sarikpa, all those are lesser than the one single institution of modern biomedical system. That All India Institute of Medical Science spends more money than the whole country spends on Ayush system. So we can just imagine the kind of work that can happen in this country. If today is any innovations happening, not in India, unfortunately, people like me will be hired by people who are potentially rich to contribute to their needs, and we will get Ayurveda from abroad. That is where we are going. India is not doing justice to its own resources. But there are few countries where Ayurveda is being practiced. It is spreading every year, more and more countries. Some regulations are there. People who have studied good Ayurveda in India can go to these countries and practice. These are the countries which are having a regulatory mechanism where a person from India can go and register and practice. That's a very welcoming. And if you look into other major countries in Europe, there are not even a single country where Ayurveda is practiced in its pristine form like in India, but it is being practiced in different way. But this is a very welcoming nature. The whole Europe is slowly opening towards system like Ayurveda. And there are mechanisms in place to see that more and more interactions happen. But this is an area, if you work, we can capture in the medical tourism when we talk about, it's not treating in a few surgical conditions. The medical tourism opens the whole area of wellness and well-being. And people who are in affluent countries are looking for well-being measures so that they can recharge every year their body so that their aging process is delayed. Their aging is strengthened and they have a life of productive nature till the end of the day. So this kind of thing only Ayurveda can give. And only to some extent Kerala is doing some kind of justice to this tradition. There are very good places. And if you take 2014 budget of Kerala's income from foreign travelers, 14,000 crore has come only for Ayurveda tourism out of 24,000 crores. So you can see the image in a small state like Kerala with 3.5 crore population can attract this much income through foreign exchange. What is the scope of Ayurveda if you put things into proper perspective and utility? And if you look at globally, the pharmaceuticals, the products, the herbal, they are all known as in different names and categories. None of them are today in a form of FDA regulated pharmaceutical form. It is not a molecule we are talking about. We are talking about formulations. We believe that treat the man as a whole, take the herb as a whole. We don't isolate. Isolation is actually distortion. Actually, we are killing the product by isolating. So I have been telling our people that if you isolate a molecule from a herbal product, you are killing. The best example is Risperidone. From Revolvia serpeni, we, with great effort, Sibagigi or someone else did this work, and Risperidone came to market. It is nowhere today. It's not a product of any attention. But products which are in its natural form, with improved dosage form and deliverable and patient-friendly kind of dosage, that can actually capture the market. So these are the main forms in which these products are available. And if you look into different kind of regulations being established by different countries, different point of time, Europe has been in the forefront, especially Germany came with this THMPD Act. And one of the great things happened in US in 1994 is that they came with a regulator called Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, which permitted lot of herbs to get into US without any indication for a disease. But it was a big relief for the people because plants like ashwagandha, plants like amritavalli, plants like so many plants could reach US and people could use without evaluation by FDA as a drug. And Canada also has recently come with an act which is permitting many of the herbal products. Australia is one of the very friendly country which is helping. They want Ayurveda to be there. Ayurveda practitioners are being invited. And Malaysia also is very open. Recently they came with a regulation accepting Ayurveda practitioners to practice there. Sri Lanka, of course, like India, it is one of the foremost countries in Ayurveda. So if you look into the market scenario, it is very highly attractive. And they say by 2020, the market by 2050, I think this is not purely pharmaceutical. It is all the health and healing and wellness and well-being. It is going to be 6 trillion. I don't know how to quantify it. It is a big amount, that much I know. That is the scope of this area. But what we are planning in India, by 2020 we are planning to have a 7,000 crore of export, whereas China already has gone about 30,000. A country like China, which has got lesser biodiversity than India, lesser product variation than India, lesser practitioners than India, has been doing tremendously well. And India is lagging behind even today. But the scope of Ayurveda is, the limit is the sky. I just want to give you an idea about how things are happening. I also want to tell you what is the challenges that many of you may be aware that even today people think that Ayurveda means a herb for a disease. We are all looking for a product for a disease. We don't have the whole system approach. Whole system approach is the one which is the unique feature of sciences like Ayurveda, which take diet, lifestyle changes, medicine and non-pharmacological and pharmacological approaches like Panchakarma is a package. The whole package work on a human being and get him or get her out of the condition which is an imbalance in the whole milieu of the physiological condition and bring back the restoration. So this concept is not in the minds of the people, and people are shortcut. They want detox within a day. They don't want Panchakarma, the procedure, to be going through. There is an overt commercialization without ethical thinking, ethical base on that. These are the challenges in clinical practice. And if you look into the area of research, it's so pathetic that research in India, Ayurveda has got 3 levels of application. The levels of application which you see today in the marketplace is the Vyavahara, the applied part of it. The all research is happening at the Vyavahara level. The Tattva, the philosophy, and the Shastra, the scientific, the knowledge base, has been completely neglected. No work is happening. If you go to any of the research papers in the global scenario, we don't see a single paper working on the philosophical mooring of Ayurveda, except one paper, and proudly I was part of that paper by CCMP Thangaraj, which brought the fact that the Prakriti of Ayurveda can be correlated to the genomic basis of the human being, and it was accepted by none other than Nature. Probably this is the first paper from Ayurveda which came in Nature, which got accepted in 2016 and which has gone unchallenged, and that has become a very big eye-opener for people to look into the Ayurveda philosophy more seriously than working around the superficial area of Ayurveda, that is Vyavahara. Education also, there are areas of concern, and Ayurveda education is actually in a very bad shape today in India. It has to be completely reworked. And the way forward is that we have to have this different kind of vertical has to be in place. Ayurveda has to be connected to the mainstream healthcare system, and we believe that the two systems can coexist. If there are quality practitioners, clinicians, and quality practitioner modern science, they can come together. The integrative medicine that is emerging in the global scenario can become a fact, and India can be the leader in this integrative approach, because India is the only country other than China which has got a 5,000 years of leadership in traditional medicine, and we are as good as many of the developed countries in modern science. So we can be a good leader if you actually bring Ayurveda and modern medicine together to meet the needs of the challenging new diseases of multi-causal nature. That is all what I want to communicate with you. I want to give you an idea that Ayurveda has got tremendous capacity to help the country, the population, to the global community of different countries that is emerging. These are some of the things, as I told you, we are trying to reach other countries. We are having, Ramaya is probably the first institution in the country which has got a 125 bed Ayurveda hospital recently inaugurated under my involvement leadership. In a tertiary care hospital where modern doctors respect Ayurveda and refer cases. And I refer my cases to them, ask their opinion before I treat a certain condition where I feel I am not sure about it. We have a mutual respectable kind of a relationship which is immensely helping the patient. The confidence level of patient goes up like anything if you are able to combine these two systems in a very, very appropriate way, in a very balanced way. These few words of introducing a great system to you. I again thank the organizers for giving me a chance to speak few things about Ayurveda and its scope. Thank you. Namaskar.